Welcome back to The Lead. Being the first African-American commander-in-chief has put President Obama in a unique position as it relates to confronting race relations in this country. We saw it back in 2008 when then-candidate Obama distanced himself from controversial remarks made by his former pastor, Jeremiah Wright.
The fact is that the comments that have been made and the issues that have surfaced over the last few weeks reflect the complexities of race in this country that we've never really worked through. A part of our union that we have not yet made perfect.
The president's race speech in Philadelphia from 5 joining now live is presidential historian Douglas Brinkley. He's also a biographer of Rosa Parks, I should note. Douglas, let's start by talking about the nature of this speech. Some pundits were quick to push back against labeling it historic, particularly since we've heard the president address race matters before. Do you think this is a historic speech, comparing it to other speeches in past presidencies?
Oh, no, this was not John F. Kennedy locking horns with George Wallace or LBJ saying we shall overcome. It's not a big policy speech, but it's interesting as I think more of a personal remarks. The address nation. The president was just been having this burden on his back and felt that he needed to confront all this.
What did you find most notable about the president's remarks?
I think that periodically he comes forward and starts trying to have a dialogue about race in the country. I think the fact that he can invoke his daughters, this notion of, as Ralph Ellison wrote the great book, The Invisible Man, that sometimes white Americans look at black people, either they don't see them at all or they look at them like lock your doors or get away from me, there's something wrong with you. But he also, in typical Obama fashion, said that race relations are getting better. His daughter's relationship with white America is stronger than a previous generation. So it's a mixture of frustration at the verdict in Florida and a hope that things are getting better.
I spoke just a few minutes ago about his 2008 race speech. I want to play a few clips from that speech, and I want you to compare it to what we heard today from President Obama.
We do not need to recite here the history of racial injustice in this country. But we do need to remind ourselves that so many of the disparities that exist between the African-American community and the larger American community today can be traced directly to inequalities passed on from an earlier generation that suffered under the brutal legacy of slavery and Jim Crow. A lack of economic opportunity among black men, and the shame and frustration that came from not being able to provide for one's family contributed to the erosion of black families, a problem that welfare policies for many years may have worsened. That anger may not get expressed in public, in front of white coworkers or white friends, but it does find voice in the barbershop or the beauty shop, around the kitchen table. At times, that anger is exploited by politicians to gin up votes along racial lines or to make up for a politician's own failings. And occasionally, it finds voice in the church on Sunday morning, in the pulpit and in the pews.
Douglas, what are the differences and similarities that you hear between that speech and the president's remarks today?
Well, that was a brilliantly crafted speech. I mean, that's one for the ages, and that becomes the Barack Obama many Americans fell in love with. Somebody who could talk that openly about Jim Crow and slavery of our first African-American president. Today was simply expressing, I think, more of just a frustration of what happened in Florida, and it might become a rally cry for the Democrats in the midterm election on this concept of throw away this stand-your-ground law. Many Americans are very upset about it. The president thought he couldn't stay on the sidelines, and while I think the news cycle is going to only run this for a few days, when somebody writes the biography of President Obama, this will be a significant couple of pages that he was willing to step out. There's a reason his public opinion ratings in the African-American community at 85–90%. He knows how to talk to that community, and he felt he needed to be a sort of a pastor to them right now when many, particularly African-Americans or minorities, are feeling deeply frustrated by the Zimmerman acquittal.
Douglas, we only have about 20 seconds left, but if you could give us an idea of where you think today's remarks, what place they have in the president's legacy, if any.
Because he was the first African-American president, historians are always going to look on how he dealt with race. And this was a significant event today. It's one that the weekend news shows will keep talking about. It's not often a president likes to throw himself into a court case, and Barack Obama just did it. Trayvon Martin is like Emmett Till. It's going to be known as a dark moment in U.S. history.
We got to go, Douglas.
Part of that story.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's it for The Lead. Now it's Wolf Blitzer's turn. The Situation Room is on right now.